Welcome to the Tech Panel.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The podcast where tech minds meet.
Oh, hey, before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell.
Welcome to the Tech Panel. I'm your host, James Arvin.
And I'm Sarah Bowers, and this is the podcast where we dive into the cutting-edge ideas, innovations, and technologies transforming industries.
Each week, we're going to sit down with the leaders and disruptors at the forefront of these changes to hear their stories, explore their vision, and uncover the challenges they're solving in real time.
And today we're joined by a guest who's not just scaling companies, he's redefining industries. He's built and led many businesses, turning vision into action and action into million-dollar success stories. He's a fast-paced innovator who knows how to find opportunity, harness it, and scale it to new heights. But what drives someone with such relentless ambition? What lessons come from building success after success, and where does he see tech and people falling short? Let's find out.
This is the Tech Panel.
Hi, Glen. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today in person.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Firstly, before we get into the nitty-gritty, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today at the helm of Smoothlink and the other companies?
Yeah, I can. So Smoothlink and the companies that have run after it, I guess, are about the 28th company that I've run.
Wow.
I started off, I guess, like everyone does when you first get your car and doing a mowing round and trailer and all that sort of stuff. I've done a whole bunch of things, sold businesses, bought businesses. I guess the reason I got into this is because I was into digital marketing and have a digital marketing company. A good friend of mine came to me who was in construction. He'd just bought a software called Procore. That's a construction project management software. And he had a problem because he needed to integrate the financials of Procore to his ERP system Xero, which is a pretty big Australian, predominantly Australian, New Zealand accounting software. And so I went to one of the guys who worked for me, who was a developer at the time, back-end developer, and asked him if he could build it. We built that solution. And the reason they didn't go with it effectively is there was only one other solution in the market at the time. And those guys were pretty arrogant to my friend who owned a construction company. And that's kind of how it came our way. We basically built the solution. I sold out of that digital marketing business, bought into it, and actually bought the developer on board and made him the CTO of the company. And he's also an owner of that company now. And we've gone into many other ventures together now. So we pretty much acquire businesses, purchase businesses, do other startups. And Smoothlink itself, the main company that we kind of started together, is now all around the world, throughout NAMA and throughout Europe, and starting to get into Saudi Arabia as well.
Amazing. Tell me a little bit more about Smoothlink. When you built it, how long did it take to build? Like, was Procore, impressed with the speed in which you could just build this?
Yeah, I mean, it was at the time. I mean, we didn't intend to build it to be what it is today. It was originally, we'd done other things for like connectors with SimPro, just for back-end website sort of things. So it wasn't, it was originally supposed to be just another one of those, a one-off sort of thing we did. The AE, the account executive for Procore, was the one that kind of helped us through building it. And my good friend, his construction company's CFO. So he worked with our developer and, probably took it was probably developed over sort of a 12-month period to get it down to a bit of a fine art. But what actually happened is once we had that all set up for them, the AE Procore came back to us and said, hey, look, your product's really, really good. It's more stable and reliable than the one we sell in the market. Would you guys like to commercialize it and sell it to other people? And at the time we were like, maybe, so yeah, that's pretty much where it started. We asked them how many clients they could push our way, and kind of the rest is history.
Amazing. And how many have you got at the moment, client-wise? It's still growing, obviously.
Yeah. So I think the last count, they Procore on their marketplace look at it as installs, and SimPro and HubSpot and some other people that we build to do, measure things differently. but there's in excess of 1,600 installs at the moment.
Within a year or so.
No, that's over the last sort of 4 years.
4 years. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're certainly the market leaders now in that space.
Amazing.
When we look at 1,600, I know some people may think of that as like, oh, it's only 1,600. There's probably tens of thousands of customers out there, but 1,600 is a significant share of the construction market space, especially with your primary focus began in Australia.
I did, yeah.
And you're working in other markets abroad. So yeah, if we probably, would it be safe to assume probably 2/3 of that or 3/4 of that was Australian based?
Yeah, probably. I mean, at the moment, we're probably running at about a 60-40, 40% of our revenues coming out of APAC. The rest of it's around the world.
Right. So that also puts us in a different light, right? So if it's 60-40, 60 in Australia, 40 in...
40 in Australia, probably. We do
40 in
more,
Australia.
We do more overseas than
Wow.
here.
Okay. So yeah, it's still a big share of the construction market space. Like there's not tens of thousands of construction companies over here. And, you only need a few of these to make a pretty big dent. And then now you're expanding over into the US where this is where things can really go crazy if you really start to shake things up over there for Procore side of things.
Yeah.
What has been the strategy? How have you thought, or what made you think we're ready to move into the US market?
I think for us, we kind of got to a point where we were pretty comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, myself and the other owner of the company sort of got to we went through the hard yards like every business does, where you can't afford to pay for anything. Didn't take a wage for a couple of years, all that sort of thing.
Yep.
But we kind of got to a point where it was either we just stay where we are and be comfortable and do our thing, or we go global.
Yep.
And we kind of made the decision. I said to him, "Hey, look, are you willing to do this?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm all in." And we sort of put a big focus on going global with the business.
Obviously, all this boils down to right people at the right time. What gave you the confidence in knowing that you are ready from an Australian-based company to move into that side? What was the process of getting all of your ducks in a row and making sure the people were ready to scale in the US?
Look, a lot of people ask us that all the time. And I mean, the first thing I'd probably mention is our business is a bit different to, which I found out over time that we don't take any investment. So everything's bootstrapped, the whole business, even to this point. So there's a lot of interest in, VCs and people trying to get into our business because it is a very good company and a fast growing company. We sort of grow anywhere from 147 to 167% year on year, and we've constantly done that. But I guess the hardest part for us was how do we fund it? So we had to fund it off the back of the APAC sales, and then had to stretch our team. So the biggest thing was the team that we had at the time were willing to go on the adventure with us. So we had one of the guys who were trying to get somebody into Canada, and within 2 weeks he was up and going, and off he went. And we had some strategic play in that, where we strategically placed ourselves as a good option for a couple of employees from Procore and experienced people that we could leverage that overseas and get that growth as well. But it was certainly a bit of a throw it at the wall and see what sticks. But the year prior to us going global, Marlo, my business partner, and myself pretty much ran the whole clock. So that's how we did it without money. We literally did a year of answering the phones. I was the sales guy and he was the tech guy at the time.
Yep.
So for the first 12 months of going overseas, we'd do our Australian or do our New Zealand business, our clients, we'd answer the phone to them. 3 hours later, we were in the Australian market. We'd work the day here. Then we'd work into afternoon, go home for dinner, and then we'd be on calls with the UK. And then they'd wrap up and we'd be on calls with the US and Canada through the night, and then start again early at, 5 a.m. again. So, we probably ran a year where both of us did, very, very broken sleep for 12 months. And a lot of people always ask me, how did you do it? But at the end of the day, it was just, I don't know if you call it stupidity or what, but we didn't have the money to hire people. So we just did it ourselves. And we're lucky enough to then bring more people on to support that from our APAC team. So.
Speaking of, I think we come from similar backgrounds. We didn't start in tech.
Yep.
I think you had a construction background as well. Is that correct?
No. So I came from the steel industry.
Steel
So
industry, right.
I worked for a company called Commercial Medical Company, CMC, based out of the US.
Right.
And then they acquired our company in Australia. So I did about 15 years from the ground up, running a machine all the way up into a national title.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you're coming from a background, like I think sort of similar to me. Yeah. Yours more manufacturing, mine construction.
Yeah.
And we've moved into this tech space, which is very different. I'm sure it would have been different for you as opposed to different for me. Where, in construction, as I'm sure it is in the steel space as well, the bottom line is always what matters. I feel like the company needs to survive. And we've now moved into this sort of tech space where it feels like they always sort of, preach that it's all about the people. We need to be focusing on the people. If you just invest into the people, everything else will follow. But at the end of the day, isn't the company's survival the main priority here? Do you feel you're having competing interests here, trying to follow the tech vibe versus putting the most focus into the business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I mean, my background coming from manufacturing and, managing, blue collar workers and, it was very, very different to what we're doing in the SaaS space, right? But, look, I think the industry is a bit shot too. Like there's lots of glorified people in this space that think they're much better than they are. And, they expect things to come to them. I think maybe it's the world just in general, but, everyone wants something for nothing without putting in the hard yards. I'd probably, I wrote this down the other day and I was talking to one of my team about it, but it's almost like for me, people want to work for a great company and they see tech companies as great companies, right? Because it's sexy, but it's not really. It's just another business. But at the end of the day, I mean, people want to work for a great company, but you can't work for a great company if you're not a great employee. So, I'd probably tell everybody, that's listening to this or anyone that's working for a company, if you're not operating at the highest level as an employee, then you probably need to check yourself because you're not going to work for a great company because a great company can't be sustainable. And we've seen this time and time again through big companies, the Salesforces of the world and big companies that go out on this limb and try to do what the world expects them to do and society expects them to do. And they end up almost taking their companies over it. And, it really comes down to, for me, the business comes first. And if the business survives, then everybody else flourishes from that, right? So if everyone has that same mentality and then you look at the business, it's really about the client. So I really just think that people have it wrong. People just think that, they can take from a business and, especially a company like ours, we don't have deep pockets. So it's really, really hard for us we've got to make sure that we've always got the right people on board and people that are passionate about going where they're going and want to work for a great company.
Very honest, realistic approach, I guess, that it is the business. If the business doesn't survive, the employee won't have a job. That's pretty simple. But how do you, I guess, keep your employees motivated? How do you reward greatness? And what is a great employee to you?
I think, I talk with people about this all the time and it's probably a little bit, it can be taken the wrong way. But I mean, for me personally, I always say to everybody, flexibility comes from reliability. So, if you prove to me that you're reliable, not just in turning up on time, but, the little things, right? It's as a business, you can't scale if you can't rely on your people. And a good example of that is, we talked about going global before. I mean, two of the key players in getting us global picked up their life and moved within a week to 2 weeks, So we had the first guy that did that in Canada. And then we had one of our guys that was based out of London in our London office coming back to Australia. And one of our team in Australia, she just picked up her whole life and took off to build a team over there for us. So
they've got that willingness, as well. Yeah.
So, like for us, we couldn't be here where we are today if we didn't have people like that. So that to me is success, and those people will, reap the rewards of the business and how it goes. And I guess the way I deliver that is very individually. So I'm not a big believer in, a reward for everybody and everyone gets equal because at the end of the day, reality is everyone doesn't put in equal. So, it comes back to that whole thing. Like if you want to work for a great company, need to be a great employee.
Yeah.
And unfortunately you call it employee or team member or whatever, fluff you want to put around the word of it. But like at the end of the day, it's a group of people trying to achieve the same thing. And everyone needs to be passionate about it. And if you're not passionate about it, then don't do it.
That's the one thing.
Find your place,
I guess even if you're interviewing, you can sort of see who has those spark, who has that passion. If you've got a passion and you're willing and you're a hard worker, you can you can take on the roles, you can learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the big thing that I find with my industry.
Absolutely.
In particular, you've got to have that passion and that drive and that willingness.
Yep.
And then you can pick up, the individual skills that you might not have in the job.
Yep.
With those people that you said are those, those
Yeah.
great employees in your eyes, and you do reward them, is that monetary reward? Is that opportunities? Is that how do you do that?
I mean, our whole business is based on opportunity. So we have a spin-off company called Opportunity Empire. And that came about because, I really want to try and create a company that people are drawn to. So you come here not to work. You come here to achieve your personal goals. And whatever that may be, right? So for some people that's, I want to buy my first car, or some people it's, I want to take a family holiday, or it's, I want to buy my first house. And for us, I mean, we're investors just like you are. And, we invest in property and factories and all those and business and all those sort of things. So, we've got great brokers and great lawyers and everybody you could possibly need. So, for me, one of our, it actually really hurt me that I heard two of our employees bought a house and they went through all the pain that you go through buying a house. And I was like, if I had known, I could have hooked you up with a whole bunch of people that would have looked after you, right? So, and that's really what that's to me is where business should be, the community. It should really be about like, where do you want to go? And not the wanky stuff, right? Corporate does, where they're like, hey, kumbaya, where do you want to be in 5 years?
Yeah, what's your leadership plan, all that sort of thing. Yeah, it's more
around,
real life.
Yeah, what do people really want to do? And some people, everyone's dream's different, right? And everyone's different. But that's where the Opportunity Empire really came out of it. So we've got a spin-off company that looks after all of our companies, and there's a team that sits within that. We've got legal, finance, marketing, the whole work. So it's really around anybody who wants to do something bigger with their life, but doesn't know how, because it is a bumpy road. That's what we do. We offer that, and it's either investing in money, or it's investing in resources, or it's investing in our IP or expertise.
So for example, if I was one of your employees and I wanted to, you gave the example of buying a house, but let's say I wanted to start a small business on my own time, I could say, hey,
Absolutely.
Glenn, this is one of my goals for this year or the next 5 years. Can you help me reach that? And the Opportunity Empire would kind of give me the resources, and you'd say, chat to my lawyers, chat to me here. I will do some mentoring sessions. I can coach you on how to start the small business. I can give you my time and expertise, giving back in that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
But not just employees. So it's really around, like I found a long time ago, like everyone comes to me, like a lot of people come to me and they're like, hey, I want to run a business. Can you help me? And I found out probably not really, really quickly, stupidly. It took me a long time to realize that not everyone's made equal, and some people want something, but it's kind of like what we said before. You got to have a certain drive to want something, right? And it's that passion. It's like, if you want to start a business, then that's great, but I can't be the guy that wakes up at 5 a.m. for you and is putting flyers on cars for you and doing all the shit stuff that you've got to do to get yourself off the ground, right? That needs to be you. And if it's going to be me, then it's not going to work. So, it's Opportunity Empire is really around creating an opportunity for people that really have a desire to do something. And we're kind of doing that off the spin of our teams and other people. So it's not just our teams, it's friends and family. But, unfortunately for people, they come to work and then they do a job, and, some people are looking for a community in the business. Some people are individuals and they want to do their own thing. But, if I just look back at the way I used to do things. And when I first bought my first house, nobody in the company knew I was trying to buy a house, and it was hard. You go see a broker or something and they rip you off, and then somebody out the pest and building rips you off, and then council rips you off. And, there's a million things you've got to navigate through, and then you go have a family, and then you're getting married and blah, blah, blah. So the idea for me is really creating a company, or I wouldn't even call it a company,
Maybe an ecosystem.
It's like
an
community almost. It's
ecosystem
like
of people that want to
you.
come here because they come and work here because they want to do something with their personal life.
Yeah.
And that might be, and at the end of the day, that might be, hey, look, I want to buy a house and then I want to have a kid.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, how do we help you get there? Oh, I don't need your help. Okay.
Yeah.
But maybe
It's here if you need it.
Yeah, it's here if you
in
need
2
it.
years if you need it. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's the hard part. So yeah, Opportunity Empire is really around offering whatever it is they need, whatever the gap is that they have on the path to their plan.
This is a very different take on employee benefits that people don't really take into consideration. When people go to tech companies, what they do is they go, what benefits do they have? And they're like, you can get discount at like this or this. And it's like, oh, great. I got to buy stuff. That's my benefit that I get.
Get 5% off a
And you're
JB
essentially
Hi-Fi.
saying like, look, if you want to buy a home, we've got like people here that have gone through the process. We'll lean in. We'll help you out. And we also know the builders. Do you want to renovate when you build it? We've got the people that you probably want to talk. That's real benefit that people think
Absolutely.
actually want to take advantage
and
of.
as you touched on it before, that community sort of, you've got, it takes a village to, raise a kid and do a lot of things. And it's like the business village almost. Yeah.
The hard part, I guess the hard part for us is really trying to get everyone in the team to understand that you have a whole team behind you to get to where you want to go. So, like that's a challenge in itself, I guess.
I love that, because every company I've worked for, if you sit down once a year or every 6 months to do your plans, it's never about your personal goals. It's always about your career goals. That's right. And it's almost like this is an opportunity to only chat about your career goals. Where do you want to be? But it's like, well, you know what? Career and life is blending more and more these days. Like more people are putting that emphasis on the balance, the elusive balance, or, intertwining both career and lifestyle. So it makes perfect sense that you're bringing that into that.
Yeah. And I mean, even from a performance point of view, like big companies, they do performance reviews and it's all very wanky and whatever. But, for me, a performance review, and we've got some coming up, but for me, it's around, are you achieving your goal? And if they're like, well, no, well, you're letting yourself and me down. Yeah. Like, because my goal is to grow the business to, we want to try and get it to $5 billion in 5 years, right? Wow. So are people helping, are you helping us get to that path? Yep. And then are we helping you get to your goal? And their goal, hopefully their goal sits within my goal. Because then I can help them achieve, right? But like if I'm not helping them, or if they're not helping themselves get to their goal, then they're not helping me get to my goal, right? So that's a performance review in my eyes. It's that simple.
It's interesting. I've gone through quite a few performance reviews, and that's definitely not the take that most tech companies are familiar with today. It's always, how do you feel about where you are today in life, and where do you feel you're going to be in 5 years' time? And it's always, again, I think this comes just from the background where I'm from. Like performance reviews are usually performance based. They're not really like, how do you feel about the world today or the way you're operating in it? It's very much like, what is happening right now with you? Where do you think you can be performance-wise in 3 months or a year's time? What steps are you taking to get there, and measuring you along that way? And if there's a dip, providing you guidance to make sure we get you back on track, so there's no slip in your life cycle with the business. But speaking of difficulty, what is the hardest decision that you think you've had to make while managing a business, and how do you think that has shaped the way you're managing a company today?
I don't really know, to be honest. If I think about, there's lots of hard decisions. I don't think
business is a series of hard decisions.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm truly honest about it, the hardest decision I've had to make is not spending time with my family. Yep. So that's probably the biggest. Business, unfortunately, and some people have this right, and I do what everyone else does and listen to podcasts and follow people, and it's almost like an Instagram of these guys that like, the life's perfect, we're on a boat, and I work 4 hours a day, and Tim Ferriss, 4-hour work week, and all that kind of crap is not reality if you're trying to run the business to scale the business to that point. So unfortunately, like something always gives, right? It's either your health, or it's the business, or it's family or whatever. And kudos to the guys that have got that right. But I feel like that's the journey is trying to get to that point. And that's probably for everyone, right?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. It's trying to find that balance, but I don't actually think there is a
No,
balance.
I'm
No.
like balance. I always do
That's right.
balance in this
Yeah.
inverted commas because I don't understand that word.
No, neither do I. And it's like for me at the point we're at right now is, everything suffers. Like I probably sleep 3 hours a night, because even when I'm awake, I'm thinking about the other businesses or what we could do, or, cash flow in one of our other businesses, or, someone's got a problem and I'm trying to fix it, or, there's always something. But, that's probably the toughest decision in business is having to step away from my family and making them pay the price.
I mean, every new business owner has to put in that hard yards and that drive and be like 120, 150% in it.
Yeah.
You've done 28 businesses.
Yeah.
You've got multiple at the moment. Like how do you focus your time or energy?
Probably don't.
You don't. You just like scattergun, right?
No,
But, yeah.
look, I mean, I am a bit of a scattergun. I do what other people do. I try to surround myself with people that are balanced, because I'm probably not as balanced as I probably should be. But look, I mean, at the end of the day, it's really around trying to put people in place that are passionate about doing what they're doing, and hopefully they're driving in a way where I become more of a mentor to those guys. So, I mean, look, people like Elon Musk and people do it, right? So you should probably get him on the show, by the way.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, those guys do it, and I don't have a private jet yet to save time, but really, I guess that's probably it in my mind. It's really around trying to become more of a mentor for people and the leaders in the business, so I can help them get to where they need to be. Yeah,
I think, I guess, you've got your own business goals and you're driven for that, but that other side of it where it sounds like you really, do put value on mentoring and passing your knowledge on. I think that's where that value, that payoff comes for you, I guess, is that you might not be spending as much time with your kids, but you're giving back to society and you're giving back to your employees by, feeling like there's value there and it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Look, I think for me, that's, I always help people.
Yeah.
So, and to my detriment a lot of the time as well. Right. So, but I always just want people to do well and be able to achieve their goals. And that's where Opportunity Empire did come from as well. So there's a guy that I follow called Dan Martell. I don't know if you know Dan Martell or not. But he's based out of Kelowna in Canada. And I had my EA at the time he does a hike every Tuesday with a bunch of founders, SaaS founders. And I had my EA book in and get a spot for me to do the hike. So I flew over there with my wife, went and did this hiked up the hill with these guys. And I thought I was going to get something magical out of, trying to get something out of him. He's got $100 million ARR business, or he's got a few of them, I think. And what I found when I was there is there's 40 guys hiking this hill, and, everyone, once they found out what I did and how many things I was in, I ended up talking to people and mentoring people up the hill. And then I got to the top and I didn't get to chat to him, and he was like, "Oh, we're going to catch up." And I was like, yeah. And then on the way down, I was chatting to people, and then, this guy runs on a clock, like on a dime. Like he literally does a hike with a timekeeper. So, this guy's like, time's up. And he's like, "See you guys." And I found myself there for another hour and a half with a whole bunch of people. But when I looked around on that hike, I noticed there was a big circle around him because everyone was there for him. But then there was a small circle around me. And I was absolutely pissed off that whole trip because I was like, God damn it. I flew all the way over here. Didn't get to do it. I was puffed out and cooked up the hill because I'm not fit enough. And then I kind of whinged to my wife our whole trip through Canada. And when I got back, I realized that, probably my purpose is to help people. And that's where Opportunity Empire came. And so I've decided to do that. And that's been my drive the whole time, is just helping people.
Yeah. And it's just a great lesson in life that you have this expectation of one thing, like physically hiking up a hill, getting that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out, but you learned all these other things along the way, and you then use that to create another business and do something else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
With those 28 businesses that you've got, obviously you've had.
There's about 8 active at the moment, I think.
When do you know when to tap out? When do you know when to start the next one? Is it, and then scaling as well. I want to talk about that, When do you know when to scale, when to pull back?
Yeah.
I think for me, like, like I'm pretty good at a few things, and although the businesses that we have are vastly different, they all have an element in it that I know what I'm doing. So I only go into things that I know what I'm doing in. I don't go into things I don't have a clue about. So, you know, I guess for me, it's really around trying to create opportunity for myself and other people at the same time. But I guess the biggest thing is, especially in the software space and around SaaS, I got really pissed off because there's not really good software out there, and everyone's promoting their software as being great. And I can truly put my hand on my heart and say that, you know, my business partner and the CTO of our companies, and he's in multiple companies with me as well. You know, he's by far, you know, he's almost like the Rain Man. I joke about the Rain Man of tech, you know, like he can count how many sticks dropped on the ground or whatever. But he's also really, really dedicated. He can do front end and back end. And he puts in probably more hours than anyone in the business alone, right? But I guess out of that, we have really, really good software, and everything comes back to us. The market tells us that, our clients tell us that. And for me, it really frustrates me that there's really shitty software out there, and people take a lot of money. Then they get seed money, investment money, and then they use other people's money to build shitty software until they get it right. And then they get it right, and then they start paying back people, right? And that really frustrates me. So when I get frustrated like that, I usually start another company and try to create a solution out of it. So that's pretty much where they've all come from.
Yeah, just that frustration, that
Absolutely.
need for like, this doesn't work, I'm going to build it better, and I want to do that.
Yeah, I think for most, I dare say that most founders out there have founded their company out of a problem they've had. I would dare say most of them.
Yeah.
You know, because that's usually what happens, right? You get frustrated because you can't find the solution to the problem you have, and you know, if you've got the means to be able to build it, then you might as well just go build it.
When has that backfired? That would have backfired a few times at all, or when has scaling backfired? Like, you know, is there a point where you go, we just leave it where it is, it's doing well, but there's always seems to be this glorified, I guess, idea of you've got to scale up, you've got to get bigger, you got to scale. It's like, it could be just be perfect where it is. Like,
yeah, I don't think anything's perfect where it is. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think if you, you know, I know Tony Robbins says that if you're not moving forward, you're dying, right?
Yeah.
So
that's my kind of philosophy. But I think we're both the sort of people that are always moving, driving, moving.
Well, I think you've got to be. I mean, like we scale, but you know, we scale because there's opportunity to scale. And I think if we sat still, then we'd get eaten up. I mean, our competitors are exactly like that. They sit stagnant, they take dividends, and everybody's happy, living their weekends, and we're churning and moving forward and creating great things in the world, right? But if we didn't do that, then, you know, if you sit still too long, I guess then you've got the risk of being eaten up, right? So it's probably no different to this industry. Like, I mean, you know, like I'm under no illusions that this, you know, building integrations and middleware won't look like it is in 5 years. And, you know, people are paying thousands for a connection between two software endpoints. Like, if the industry is doing that in 5 years, they should shoot themselves. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you know, we should be, especially with AI and things like that, it's got to move, right? So because of that, you've got to move as a business, or you kind of get eaten up. So I guess when people say scale, some people are scaling just to survive, and some people are scaling purposely.
There's a couple other things happen there with scaling perspective as well. You know, I've worked in tech companies where they take investment and they have to scale or the company just dies. They're told 30% growth every single year must be maintained, which is silly.
Yeah. Because
the market is not growing 30% every single year. And it almost feels like it's eating its own, like the snake eating its own tail, consuming itself. But you also spoke about some of these companies, right? Some of the ones that are driving you, the fact that they just provide such subpar service. I'm a little bit curious here. Like, do any come to mind? Like, who in particular out there like got you started on this journey? That's just
what is the bad software? Let's name and shame them.
Do they still exist today?
Can this be a new segment? Name and shame. What's the worst stuff you've used?
look, I think there's a few come to mind, but given the position, our position in the market, is probably not smart or advisable for me to name them. But I will say this, that those companies will end up tanking anyway, right? And to your point, the guys that are, taking investment and it's almost like a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
Right. The second you take that money, you either, unless you're taking it for the point of an exit, and that's what a lot of people create companies for, right? I mean, that's the wrong reason to create a company.
Yeah.
I'm creating a company because I'm going to exit it in 5 years' time, and that's my exit strategy is this, blah 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 blah. Well, you're not really thinking about the real client, are you, or the end use? I personally think that you can scale, but not scale just in your one company. So, if you take Smoothlink as a business, it's building integrations, for many, many different companies, SimPro, Procore, HubSpot, and we've got a couple of others that are coming online as well in the next little bit. But, that company itself has opportunity to scale outside of the space it operates in a kind of different way, which will be completely different to what everyone's doing and anyone expects. And it will look like a completely different, I guess, company to some degree, but it will still be doing its core functions. And I probably can't talk too much about that because there's a bit of a strategy in play for us on that. But I guess that's where I think companies need to move. And then, we go and build other companies, and that's our way of scaling. So when I talk about $5 billion in 5 years, it's across the whole group of businesses that we're into. We're not after one company doing that one thing. And, some of the companies that you spoke about, probably do need to move into some other things and create some other opportunities for themselves.
And maybe let's not name and shame the tech companies that you don't like, but is there any piece of technology that you're just like, it's time for the world to move past this. We've grown away from this piece of technology.
Look, I know a lot of people go on about things like Slack and WhatsApp and,
Triggered.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, our company is a big Slack user. And I think it's a great tool. Don't get me wrong. I think the problem is, those guys, people buy software usually because they're trying to bring everything into one place, right? And if you look at it right now and you spoke to someone, companies are using a big stack of solutions. And those solutions, there's a lot of crossover and blend into those solutions. So I would probably say all of them. Probably someone needs to come in with a solution that pulls it all together. And maybe it's not always just going to be integrations because there's a niche just within that.
Hey, I'd be doing something like that, talking
Absolutely.
to all of them and saying, this is what I need from all of these different softwares or applications.
Absolutely.
And then this is how we want it to work for my business, or this is how I want it to work for me personally.
Yeah.
Build that, do that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can kind of almost build it real time.
I would probably say, Arvin, like that any company where you've got to log into them to operate your business is probably doing things wrong. Because if you've got to log in, that means you've got multiple logins across multiple platforms. And as soon as you do that, you'll open up the opportunity to have error in your business and miss something. So, companies really should be trying to really be embedding themselves properly in a user's, life, I guess. So I would probably say there's lots of them.
Who's doing this really well?
Yeah.
China.
Yeah.
Have you heard of WeChat?
Oh, yeah, no, WeChat. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, isn't that what sort of Elon Musk was like, I'm going to buy Twitter, make X this super app, almost like what WeChat is in China. Like WeChat's like the everything.
It's everything that I think, I honestly, I'm so sad that we live in a Western civilization. We don't have anything even remotely close to a WeChat.
But, I don't know if you want the government control.
You don't need a government version one, right? That's the difference between theirs.
That's why it's just one, because it's like, ooh.
But it'd be so amazing. You're right. If someone just started with, we don't actually have anything. We have the core that everything will build off of the back of.
Yep.
Feel free to build into it.
Yep.
And then everyone builds around that. And now everything's communicating. Like I saw a video. I think what it was is this old lady wakes up and she checks her WeChat and it's all of her messages. And it's not like emails or here and there's instant messages here and then other different platforms, text messaging in there. It's just your messages.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how good is that? It's just one place you go to find messages. Then when she's done there, she's like, okay, I need to get breakfast. And she clicks a button. And it's like the restaurant that's right next to her. And it shows all the breakfast options there because they're all connected into the system as well.
Absolutely.
And then when she wants groceries, it's like, click the grocery button on it. And it shows all the groceries that she's purchased before. It just does everything that you need. You
Yeah.
don't have to have a login for a billion different things and learn how that app works or this one works. It's
Yeah.
all just WeChat.
Yeah. And that's what we should, I believe that's what we should be aiming for.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, you know, we've got a motto that's simplify life in our businesses, all of our businesses, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Just simple. And I feel like our lives, everyone bangs on about technology and SaaS and blah, 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 but we've made shit more complicated than it ever was. You
Yeah.
know? So, you know, something like that would be great. I mean, you obviously got the control issues and
Don't worry about
all
that.
those
Laura.
things to get
Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
but yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. Well, I thought that's what X was going to be. Like he wanted to make this super app, but then, and it's banking, it's everything. You know,
Yeah.
it was going to be everything in one. But again, I'm like, yeah, I got trust issues.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want my one app with
knowing
everything.
him, he's already built it. It's
Yeah,
just in the
exactly.
I
background
don't know
somewhere.
if I
X
trust
is just
it.
yeah.
So I'm more like, I'll get AI to build something for me that connects with all the apps and the software that I already like to use, and then I can streamline my life personally for me.
I mean,
That's my thing.
even AI is a bit of a trap if you think
Oh,
about
God,
it. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
so many people are relying on AI to do everything now.
Yeah.
And it's cool, right? You can do a marketing plan. But how many people are actually reading through their marketing plan properly and going, oh, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
People like using it to write a business plan and going, there's my business plan, and they never actually fucking read it.
Yeah. Read
It's
it
like-
properly.
Yeah,
Read
you
it
know,
properly.
like
Oh,
it's
God,
like
the
it
mistakes.
spits
yeah.
out stuff all over the
Yeah,
place. So
yeah.
it's a danger in itself, I think,
Yeah.
to some
God, yeah.
degree. But
It's a tool. It's an assistant, but it's not the whole thing. You've
That's
got to
it.
sub it. You got to
Yeah.
check it. You got to fact check it.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But interesting.
Mm.
So future. We're talking about the future, I guess.
Yeah.
Here in terms of where you see the future of software and what will be redundant in 5 years, and I guess where do you see the future of Smoothlink as well and SaaS?
Well, I think, look, SaaS in general, I think everyone's trying to move into that space because it's like what I said before, software and tech and, SaaS is kind of like seen to be very sexy.
Yeah.
You know,
Exciting. Everyone's like, I now want to be a tech company. Change the name of my company.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Well, we're a
Seriously.
tech company now.
Yeah, but look, I mean, the future of Smoothlink, it's kind of like what I said before. I'd be very, very surprised for most companies if they're around in the same element they are at the moment in 10 years. And if you're a company and you're not already thinking about how you adapt and change to things like AI as well, right? Then you're just going to get eaten up. So I think personally that AI will probably eat up a lot of business, and because I think everyone's been on a really cruisy wave the last few years around tech, where you just create something in tech and boom, you're like a superstar, right? But with AI coming into play, if you're not a good businessman or businesswoman or whatever, you're not going to be able to survive. And at the end of the day, software companies are just businesses. The software we sell is no different to a manufacturing plant or a construction site. We've all got the same problems, and we're all using technology to do it, right? So I think that's a bit of a problem that's happening. There's a lot of techie kind of people and developers who can build something really good and then go run a business, and it ends up failing for them because they're not going to be able to adapt with it.
I am curious as well about the whole, I guess, you used the word of making life simpler, that using technology to make life simpler. I see a lot of businesses trying to use technology to make things more efficient and just drive this like efficiency train.
Yeah.
And, more businesses are like, let's get more efficient. Let's get more out of our workers. Let's do this. Is that the right direction, or is that going to cause, I don't know, a train crash? Is it, what do you think of this? I just feel like there's just this efficiency push, and I don't always know if that's the best way
Yeah.
to do business or life.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
things have to always be the quickest, the most efficient? Where is it, or is it good because then you open up opportunity for creativity and other things?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the answer is there, but I mean, for me, efficiency is good because I come from a manufacturing background. So everything was about lean manufacturing and Six Sigma and all that sort of stuff, right? Which funnily enough, all my businesses don't do any of that stuff. So there's your answer probably right there, right? but I do think efficiency plays a place. But I do feel like that people get it wrong as well. Is, the pendulum always swings, right? Where I think we're at a point right now where we're coming back to where people want a conversation again. And we spoke about this in the past before as well, as like too many people will divert to a chat bot or an email and not a phone call.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you talk about efficiency and people are like, well, just make it where no one has to talk to you. But efficiency is sometimes picking up the phone and resolving the problem straight away, right?
Yeah, I get way more done with a phone call or an in person.
Right.
Yeah.
We brainstorm something and it's fixed. It's solved. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe that will come to a place where the AI plays a role in that, and AI is having those conversations because you won't be able to tell the difference. I don't know. But yeah, look, I do believe in efficiency to some degree, but I also believe in collaboration and that sort of thing. I think that's really important as well.
Do you think that has to do, how do I phrase this? Would I be right in assuming from your perspective that you think the younger generation is more apt to be doing things like messaging versus picking up a phone?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm certainly under no illusion that I'm 46 or something at the moment, right? So I'm under no illusion that eventually, a lot of the people, especially in the space we play in construction, a lot of the guys we're dealing with and girls are around my era.
Mm-hmm.
So phone calls are king in that space, right? Because that's how they want to do business. But, you'd be a fool to believe that if our business, we talked about where's Smoothlink going to be in 5-10 years, it's going to have to merge into that, the realms of like what my kids are, where they don't talk to anyone and they expect to order their meal without talking to someone. And I mean, you see it even in the McDonald's around the world. They're even pushing to not even talk to anyone anymore. The girl at the drive-thru doesn't even talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
Just waves you and says, pay.
Not me. I'm old lover chat over here. I'm like, how's your morning going?
Yeah, I've been in the car with you. I want my food, Sarah.
I've been home with the kids and working from home all day for the last week. Haven't seen anyone. Can I just talk to you?
Yeah. But yeah, look, I mean, maybe that won't come through business. Maybe that community and that need for human interaction will come through, I don't know, different communities or different activities will come out of that. And I don't know what the world would look like at that point, but I imagine that the new generation is going to certainly turn everything upside down on that. And, they'll probably be very efficient.
Yeah. I feel I have this, I've always think existentially, but I remember when I was working in the tourism industry and producing travel shows, when internet first sort of all started, it was like, oh, we have to make sure that we've got TVs connected to everything. We've got Wi-Fi, and that was like the big selling point.
Yeah.
And then now it's like you do the digital detox. So you go to the retreat, there's zero technology.
Yeah.
And that's the selling point, is that it's zero tech.
Yeah.
So it's almost flipped to go from, we need to make sure we've got everything in the hotel rooms and at the retreat. And now it's like you come and get away from it all.
Absolutely.
I always wonder whether, that the generation growing up with it's going to kind of push back or say, we don't want it, we're over it, we just want the,
maybe,
I don't know what it is. I just
I'm
am
not
always
seeing
thinking
that.
about that. You don't see it now. I didn't see it now, but I do wonder.
I think that stuff happens because we grew up and we romanticized what the past was before
Yeah,
we were
people
addicted to these
yeah.
phones. But these kids
Yeah.
are growing up, we're like, this is the most important phase of their life, is
Yeah.
being on social media
But
and stuff.
now it's you can see the dark side of it.
Mate.
Now that's coming to light, and it's not causing positive, interactions. It's bullying. It's all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
The bans will be happening. Will they retreat back to
maybe
using it for the efficiency, just the simple part of
Yeah.
life? But it's not going to be a novelty. It's not going to be like this obsession that we've all got with it.
I think maybe the world might look like you'll put on your goggles in the morning for that generation.
Yeah.
Because they'll move away from where they are right now,
Yeah.
right? And you'll put on your goggles or maybe even your glasses
Mm-mm.
and you'll go into another realm and you'll live there, and maybe your
metaverse.
maybe your turning
yeah.
off technology will be just getting back to a phone or a laptop.
Yeah, that'll be the old. That'll be like,
You'll be like,
I'm
holy
going old school. I'm going to
the best
physically.
week of my life.
I'm going to use my fingers to touch to open an app.
Yeah, it
Wow,
felt so
remember
good.
that? Using fingers? These right now, I just use my eyes to move around my
Yeah.
glasses. Yeah.
True story. I mean,
Yeah, it is interesting.
If you look at our generation, right? I mean, one of my best moments, my best holidays was I was on call and I was in the steel industry, And I went over to the US and I forgot my charger, and I had the old BlackBerry back then, right? And I put it in the bottom of my bag and it went flat. And I spent 2.5 weeks in the US without a phone. And it was the best.
Yeah, just
absolutely
using
the
it,
best.
just asking people where to go.
Yeah.
How do I get around? Just
Yeah.
explore, walking
You guys
and
are psychos.
exploring a world. I love the nostalgia of that. I was like, ugh. But
Yeah.
you had your Apple Watch, right? You had that telling you where to go, what to do.
I need maps and I need Wikipedia at
Yeah.
a minimum.
Yeah.
I've got to be learning at all times, and I need
Yeah.
to know where to go.
Yeah.
I think I drive a Tesla at the moment, and I'm now reliant on it. So
Yeah.
when I go back into another vehicle, drive my mum's Hyundai, I cannot drive it on a highway because
Because it doesn't auto drive.
doesn't do everything for me. I'm
You
just
can't sleep in it.
I can't do my no, not that
What
I
a
do that.
wasteful car.
Yeah, but it's just, you know what I mean. I'm just so reliant on it now. But it's not a cool gadget anymore. It's just like,
Yeah.
you know, it does its thing, and I'm so reliant on it, and I feel like it's not like I'm using tech. I don't feel
Yeah.
it's just a part of life. It's very easy and simple. It's not distracting like a phone or some obsession. You know,
Have you ever had a sleep in it while it's driving?
I haven't had a sleep in it, no.
No?
But I
Thank you.
I get distracted a lot. I get distracted a lot. It's got the little camera on the inside
Right.
that use it, and the whole car uses AI because it's all the cameras around the car sense all of the different vehicles, road cones, anything on the side of the road, and it creates like a real time map on, you know, of where you're driving, and so it knows everything that's going on around you. But it's also got a little AI camera on the inside of the car that checks your eye line to see if you're distracted, and it gives you a warning when it's on self-drive. So I'm constantly getting warnings. And I, even though the drive up from down at Tweed Heads to the Sunshine Coast yesterday, I got locked out because it's like, beep, beep, you've been given too many warnings. You're too distracted. And I'm like, but I'm a distractible person. Like, I'm looking around, I buzz, I don't sit still. Like you're discriminating against my distractible personality.
Whenever I hear anyone talk about their Tesla, they get this animated. And I just
Yeah.
imagine Elon's upstairs just like pulling these strings like,
Yeah.
dance, puppet.
Yeah.
And you're worried about the China app.
Yeah. I know. It's looking at my eye line going,
Yeah.
you're looking down too much, Sarah. You're picking a new podcast and you're taking too much time to look at that.
The
So
slow
it's like,
dagger.
ding, ding, ding. So anyway,
It is a very genius piece of tech.
yeah,
that-
you just
it's
rely
just
on
become
it,
normal. Yeah.
and it's normal, and it's not. Yeah, it's not.
Do you enjoy going back to another car?
No. Unless it was something really manual. Like I used to have. I went from having a few years ago a little Lotus Elise.
Yeah.
And it's basically like driving a go-kart. I remembers it. It's, you know, you sit in this bucket seat and it's just this small metal frame. It's a go-kart and it's a manual. And I loved it because you're one with the car. Like,
Yeah.
so there's that element. So I like to go to that where I'm physically feeling every single movement and bump and I'm like one with the car,
Mhm.
or everything done for me.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be that middle, like, I have to drive and concentrate on this. Oh.
This is where we're going to differ. I lived for like 10 years of my life only with a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Everyone
like,
was like, why
I'm
do you live
concentrating.
without just a motorbike? How do you do it? Like, I'm alive.
Yeah.
And this is the best way you could ever traverse from point A to point B.
You have to be
Except
switched
in
on
the
for that.
rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did. You just get used to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So speaking of driving, what is driving you for the future?
Look, probably for me, there's two things that really drive me. One is my family, obviously, and really helping people, and hence why we started Opportunity Empire, to be able to allow people to reach their dreams that they want to, as well. So that I guess that drives me every day to wake up and make sure that everybody else is reaching what they want to reach.
I love that you said as a business owner and a founder, you're always trying to create something that is going to make someone's life easier, or it's always got, it's your goal is like the customer to help someone. It's not, I'm going to build this because it's going to make me this much money. It's I want to create this to help people.
Yeah. I think too many companies, they, especially in the software space, they create a round peg and there's a square hole, and they're going to make it fit no matter what happens.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't benefit the user. So, I think those guys should probably just get out of the market and move on and let people that are willing to help people actually help.
I love that advice, and I love that it's come from someone who's founded 28 companies. So I trust your advice. I will take that advice.
Not all successful.
Yeah,
I
but
would
it's
just
good.
say.
But that's great. But even the non-successful ones, you
Yeah,
learn. Like, that's
absolutely.
great. I
Yeah.
want to learn from someone who's had 28 companies and knows what makes them not successful and learns from that and keeps going. Doesn't just go, I had 2, didn't work. I'm scared. I'm not doing anything else. You know,
You'd
I
be a
want to learn
Trump
from
supporter
you.
in the U.S.
Ah, no, Trump. Get
I
out
want a
of
leader
here.
that's lost a lot of times but keeps on going.
What's wrong with Trump?
Oh, God, don't bring that up. Arvin had the last question, which is always about the software. We love asking people that.
Is there any piece of technology that you use on a day-to-day basis that you either can't live without or you wish every other business was using today?
Yeah, look, every business we start now starts with HubSpot, and I think HubSpot's a really good for a startup company is a very good piece of software.
Mm-hmm.
It's got its limitations and it can run into problems as you scale.
Yep.
But yeah, I would probably say that's something we couldn't do without.
What are your top 3? What are the other ones?
I mean, other than things like laptops and iPhones and things like that, but I would probably say, I mean, I'm a big user of WhatsApp, only because when I travel internationally, everyone everyone uses it. So I think that's a pretty good one. But yeah, look, Slack's obviously a big one that everyone loves.
Mm-hmm.
Arvin loves that one.
I feel like he says it in a charming way, but I feel like he's like, get over yourself.
Yeah, Arvin loves that one. Like,
He's not correcting me
It's
either.
like, Arvin loves that one. It's not going to be here in 5 years. Thank goodness.
Don't get
But,
on
you
the
know.
train. Come on.
Yeah, no, look, I think there's lots of really, really good software out there. There's really good, simple to use accounting software like Xero. Xero in Australia is a really, really basic one. It has its issues as well, but it depends on where you position it as a business. I think I think there's lots, but yeah, HubSpot would definitely be my go-to for a startup business.
But look, I know we've had you for an hour here, and it's been absolutely fun, just wonderful conversation, and I'd love to continue this. I think there's so many other things
I think we do a part 2.
Yeah, I'd planned to ask you, but we don't have infinite time, do we? And I'm sure you've got a business you got to run, or 8 others, that is. But I want to thank you. Why don't you take a moment to just sort of do a plug, tell the audience where they can find you, where they can find the business and more. Yeah.
So Glen Davis, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me there. The main company we have is Smoothlink, smoothlink.net. You can reach out to any of our team, and we can help you out.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time, Glenn. It's been
Thanks for having
wonderful
me.
chatting with you. We'll chat to you soon, hopefully.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Circle back and do this again.
Cheers.
Catch ya.
Megan, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tech Panel. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor, TraftTrack, for powering today's episode, and join us again on the next episode of the Tech Panel, where tech minds meet.